that. What do you take away from, there was recently the big costumed women kind of thing with like Syndra, Zyra, Elise, how they kind of all had similar silhouettes. How do you deal with having like monstrous kind of attributes to female champions without making them look like they're in suits? Like with male champions, you get it, you have it something like all out like Rengar.
So your question is, how do we deal? Can you summarize your question really quickly, just so we make sure we understand?
How do you avoid the similar silhouette costume women when you deal with monstrous female characters?
I guess.
Hi, I guess I'll take it. I think we just try a lot of stuff. Like, where if we're saying, oh, maybe a few champions have similar silhouettes, though they're thematically supposed to be very monstrously different. In the future, and currently, we just try a whole bunch of stuff to try just be more clever and one-up ourselves. I don't think there's a single solution. Like, we will add spider legs to everything.
Yes.
Everything will be crabs. But
Mike, what do you guys think about, like, is Lysandra representative of this?
No, I think Lysandra is actually a great example of bringing that like creepy, weird obelisk. She's not a creature, but she is like this weird, abstract, moving ice thing. And so that is an excellent example because we've changed her form. She's kind of like, gangly, Maleficent type look to her. So I think she's actually one of our better examples of something kind of otherworldly that we've taken a very thematic thing and applied it. So we just kind of need to think of those clever mechanisms specifically for those characters. We're never going to create a broad rule like, oh, this has to look this way, this has to be ugly, this has to be grotesque. It's whatever's going to work best for that champion. It just means trying a lot of stuff and being experimental.
Thanks. Also, we need more glasses.
More what?
Glasses. Yes, glasses.
Spectacles?
Like champions with glasses?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, who do we got next?
Hello. Oh, that's a loud microphone. All right. So my summoner name is Kyoki Tenshi, and my favorite champions are Akali, Kat, and Diana. I guess you could say that I like bursty lady mid assassins. And so my question is directed towards Akali. So we've seen some recent balance changes to Akali because there were a couple of bug fixes with her, and then suddenly everyone in bronze was crying. So my question is...
Is that why she got nerfed?
I assume that's why she got nerfed, but...
that's interesting. Sorry.
Tiki. But anyway, my question is, what is coming up for Akali? Because we've there's been some talk on the forums about possibly making her role a skill shot, because she's not fun to play against once she's fed, but she's also not fun to play when she's not. She's extremely snowbally, it seems like, and I'm wondering what the plans are to kind of fix her, because thematically she's beautiful, and as a character concept, she's really awesome, and she feels exactly what her lore sounds like. But I'm curious as to her kit and what the ideas are for that.
I think really directionally with Akali it's actually just about making sure that there's windows of vulnerability on Akali, and that she can show skill play, and that enemy players can appreciate that skill, and she has an opportunity to do badly or do well. Right now, the problem with Akali largely stems out of the fact that you said it, as she's snowballing, and if she gets fed, she's good, and if she doesn't get fed, she's not. That's about decisions you've made that have happened. That's about everything that's happened before it's time to fight. The fights are preordained. That's a problem in League of Legends. We don't want preordained scenarios. There's going to be some. Obviously, if you go 20-0, okay, whatever, right? But when you get there, you should have an opportunity to outplay that character in some way, or let them make a major mistake that allows you to beat them, even in a situation that is it has you against the odds, right? This is a primary difference, I think, between what we focus on in League of Legends and what is focused on more largely kind of by the general MOBA community. So I don't think we would change Akali's identity much, but we probably look for more opportunities to add more decision-making on the skills so that she can make mistakes and enemies can capitalize on those mistakes if she chooses poorly.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
My summoner name is Fyron, and my favorite champion has to be Cho'Gath. My question is, out of all the champions that are reworked, which has been the most controversial?
Which one?
Most controversial. Okay, on the count of 3, everybody in the crowd yell what you think the most controversial champion rework is. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that one. So I don't know. It's controversial what champion has been the most controversial. No, but I think you guys probably have some thoughts on this. I know you've talked a little bit on the forums about this, Bucky.
Oh, yeah. So if you want to talk about like controversy as far as like, I would say, I would equate controversy would be perhaps jarring. I'd have to say Trundle. Trundle we learned a ton on Trundle's relaunch. It was something that I felt like, you know, well, first of all, my personal opinion is like I freaking love New Trundle. I think he's badass. But it was very abrupt, and I think it could have been handled, you know, a little more delicately as far as like the lore. So yeah, it caused some controversy. It caused a lot of threads, and yeah, that's my thing of controversial matches.
Yeah, with Trundle, well, with any relaunch, we tend to take a champion, examine it, break it down to its core elements, and sort of narrow and hone in on the really iconic elements that build up the champion. The things that, if you alter, kind of fundamentally change who they are and what they represent. We either use those as a guide or decide whether or not we think a change is really important to do for the betterment of the character. And in Trundle's case, we made an alteration to sort of his thematics as opposed to being a plague troll and a martyr. He's more of an underdog and a bruiser frost troll. And so that was a big shift, and people definitely got vocal about it.
I think the big thing, Josh mentioned this, but we learned a lesson on Trundle in how you handle a situation like this, right? I think we're pretty happy with the end result of Trundle. I think he's objectively better from a number of standpoints. But I think the big difference is when you make a big thematic shift like that, when you change something, you gotta ease people into it. You gotta take them on the journey with you. Trundle's story had nowhere to go. He had no destination. It was finished. There was just nowhere to go with that character. Had we maybe, I think, and we've talked about this a lot actually, if we'd taken a little bit more time to ease into the changes, ease into the new Trundle, and tell a complete story that changed old Trundle into new Trundle through, and he's the same character going on a journey, I think that could have been a much cooler way to get to that same result. That's a lot less abrupt and a lot less just like kind of a splash of cold water in the face. So that's a big lesson we got out of Trundle. It's a good question.
Yeah, thanks for that question.
Thank you.
Hi, I go by Miracle Worker online, and I mainly focus on middle champions, Annie, Karthus, and Twisted Fate among my favorites. You guys touched base essentially on more traditional skins like the Olympic pack that you had released, and how you guys were focusing like, they are what they are, they're awesome, we're not going to touch them. But a lot of the older and traditional skins were kind of color reworks when you were releasing a new skin. And as a rework team, I was hoping that essentially you guys might touch base on whether or not you plan to go for those skins.
Totally. So let me clarify that. So when I said we're not going to touch them, I mean we're going to touch them.
The opposite thing.
Touch it.
Yeah.
We'll touch it.
Yeah. And we're not going to totally probe it, but we're going to touch it.
I was questioning.
We're not going to change essentially what Vancouver Amumu is, but he's still going to be maybe in a splash he'll still be but we'll maybe make that texture a little bit better. We're going to make the lighting a little bit better. We're going to up the quality. But I don't really know where to go. I mean, as far as Vancouver Amumu,
is there much less priority on it since the limited availability as well?
Exactly. That is true. That is true. There is a slim player base that owns that skin. But that's really not a huge factor. But at the same time,
He's not exactly a big canvas either.
Yeah, he's not exactly a big canvas. But you know what? You bring up a great point. Like when we're relaunching skins, a lot of times we ask ourselves, okay, who was the artist that worked on this? Is he still here? And if he is, we'll go talk to him and we'll say, hey dude, what was the impetus of this skin? What were you trying to say? What was the point? And we want to make sure we respect that. And You know, unfortunately, I don't think the dude who made Vancouver Mumu was there, and even if he was, I'd be like, well, what was the point of Vancouver Mumu? He'd probably be like, I don't know, like Canada, man. You know what I mean? So yeah, you could. I mean, when I say his quality would go up, and he would match whatever thing we try to do. I mean, think of Team Spirit of Nivea. You know, we would make it look better. It would just be a straight like scene, like straight colors. Maybe the colors would be blended, look kind of nice. But at the same time, it'd still be the thematic of the colors or whatever it's supposed to be. Yeah, possibly.
Cool, thank you very much.
Just to cap on that really quickly, the difference is the Vancouver Mumu conversation versus Master Yi. His assassin skin used to just be a recolor, and now it's like a model change and has some other differences too to bring it up kind of to the next level there too. So
Yeah.
cool, thank you. Who has our next question?
Hi, I'm Adrian from Boston. My favorite character is Gangplank, Miniman Gangplank.
Oh.
And 80 carry, of course.
Representing.
So I have a question for you guys in regards to the models that you guys made for this. What is your poly count for each? Well, what is your max poly count for characters, and which one is the highest?
Okay, so poly counts. So for those who don't know, poly count, what that means is the amount of triangles that are used in the construction of the model. Like all these 3D models are made with, you know, virtual triangles. All right, I'm sure you know that, but just whatever. So triangles, polygons. So I would say that we don't want to go over 10,000 polygons, right? And we only use that. And we go. I like to keep the characters around 5,000 to 7,000. We do have exceptions to that rule, like Sejuani, you know, things that are double characters, anti-tibbers. They can get up to 10. We don't want to go past that. And we can go, and some people, when I say that number, sometimes people go, you know, but poly count's really, poly count's not really the thing, right? Because we know exactly how many players are going to be on screen, we know how many minions are generated per second, you know what I mean? We know these sorts of things, so it's easy to calculate and make it easier on processors. The thing that really takes up stuff is like, you know, when we start introducing things like shaders and stuff like that. But that's a conversation that's, you know, way out. But yeah, as far as podcasts, yeah, 10K, bro.
Can I ask one animation question? How long does it take for you guys to animate a new character, and how many animators are on a team per character?
Animation question? We might have someone in the audience.
We just so happen to have an animator nowadays. Hi, I'm oh my goodness.
Give him a hand, everybody. Little known fact, he was the one that animated KO. He was basically original Relaunch.
Yeah, I was one of the original relaunches. I did the earlier ones.
And deers bow to him.
They do.
Yes.
Deers bow to me, yes, sometimes. Okay, so you were asking how long does it take for a character, right?
Yeah, how long does it take for individual character, basic characters,
Okay.
nothing too fancy?
Okay, so if one animator was working on a champion, that could be up to like 8 weeks of animation for that one guy.
I'm assuming you have teams though, right?
Yeah, we have a team of animators right now on the champion team. And we have like, you know, maybe 4 dudes, 5 dudes-ish on the animation team, but we also have other animators that do skins, and we have animators that do relaunches. We have actually 2 guys named Sean and Sean. We call them the...
Animation.
That's the joke.
We're corny as hell.
We'll show ourselves out.
Are your animators also in charge of your textures to go around and find basic textures, not full on ones, just so there's something there in the animation?
Actually, no. Animators, we let the talented texture artists and modelers handle those textures. We just complain about bad skinning and bad rigging. If somebody's bending their arm or their leg and there's like a really weird deformation, that's when the animators kind of get involved. And
Are they using gimbal?
What's that?
Are they using gimbal?
Well, we try to avoid gimbal stuff, but like we use all kinds of things. Our riggers and tech guys pretty much make it so that animators can just focus on animation, which is awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Thanks. If you guys have like some of this more like really crunchy tactical questions, we're going to be sticking around a little bit outside afterwards, and that's a really good time to dig into those things too, because then we can talk a little bit more in detail as well. So, cool. Thank you. Okay, who's next?
Hi, I'm Dr. Freeman, and I really like playing Lux and Leona. Lots of CC, like the light theme. My question though, and I'm like other people, I'm a little scared in asking it. Where's Heimer going? And I love him. He's great. I love him. But I mean, come on, something's got to happen here. Like you look at the art, you look at the gameplay. Like he needs something to do. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I should have bet somebody that we would get this question at the Relaunch panel because I think it's a good question. It's how many rework where TLDR, right? I think we actually are doing something a little different here right now. I think all of us can nod our heads in agreement that Heimerdinger probably needs new art. However, Heimerdinger really needs some new gameplay. We're decoupling the art rework and the gameplay rework on this one for now, just so we can get the gameplay out faster. It's if we have to wait to do everything, it takes a lot longer to put all those pieces together. For anybody who is on the forums a lot or has seen any of this stuff, Zephyrus has posted kind of the direction and kind of given a sneak peek in where we're going. He's going to retain a lot of the same feel of that engineer who builds turrets, but we're probably going to change up a lot of his other skills. Like those rockets, probably like the least interactive skill to get. Okay, it's cool. But you know, and his turrets really just need to be managed with what we've learned in 3 years. Learned from characters like Zyra, especially on how we can do turrets. We don't want to be like Zyra, but we've learned how they can be healthy and fulfill that kind of like builder engineer fantasy, right? That's where we want to go with Heimer's gameplay, and then I think after we get his gameplay ensued, that'll even give us better context for what we should go and do with his art and what character he is.
And just one last, on the art front, is that his hair or his brain? Because
We don't know.
That's all part of the Green Portal Unification Pass that we have to figure out. 2014, we're hoping. Fingers crossed, the initiative.
That's a good question. It's actually a bunch of noodles, just like up there.
All right, great. Do we have another question up here? Hello.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. My summoner name is Sairoki, and my favorite champions are Janna and Nami, with a special mention to Xerath, who never gets played anymore, but I just like to play him in A-Round, and good job with A-Round, by the way. It's a great game.
Yeah. Good job, guys. Good job to the environment team. They kicked a lot of ass, but all of us were kind of like, oh, they did really well.
Shopkeeper.
I helped make the shopkeeper.
Sorry, what's your question?
Well, this kind of goes to you, Brian. My new favorite champion is Thresh, and he gets banned all the time. And so you can't really play him. And everyone talks about, you know, his ulti is too strong, maybe his hook is too strong, maybe he's just too strong of a Leona. I'm kind of curious, what's down the road, and is there anything you guys are going to do to kind of take him out of the spotlight a little so people can actually play him?
Broadly, I think Thresh actually I feel really good about from this perspective. He's very balanceable. There's a big difference between if something's balanced or balanceable. Something that's not balanceable is continuously have problems. Thresh has a number of different skills and levers we can pull to make him both satisfying and powerful. Just him having basically Lantern on its own gives him a spot on the team. That gives us a good safety net there, right? I think there's just probably just too much power on the kit, rawly, and you just have to take it out of the things that aren't particularly unique or special about Thresh, while letting the things that are unique and special about Thresh take the spotlight. I think it's actually pretty simple, and we're just, I think, really just waiting until after World Finals to really crack at that. We've tried to do some lighter stuff, but I think we probably need to do a little bit heavier work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, you guys.
That was the last question for this session in this format, because we want to save a little bit of time at the end for something that the relaunch team has prepared for you guys. But we will be sticking around afterwards for a little while, and feel free to come up, chat with these guys afterwards. We'll be in this